So we are going to do a basic curl. Now, I went to bed with my hair wet. Not that I encourage it for all my extension girls, but it happens. I was tired. I had a long day yesterday. So I have a lot of people asking me, how did you get your curls? I love your curls. I love your curls. My hair is naturally curly. But this is like the brushed out version of it right now. It's not horribly curly, but I have enough of that wave where I can just kind of roll with it. But most of the time I like to curl my hair because I am a hairstylist. I need to look professional. So with that being said, a lot of the style lately is more of a lived-in look. We see a lot of loose waves, that beachy wave that we're all looking up tutorials for and trying to achieve it, and we're overthinking how we're curling it. So I'm going to show you today some of my favorite products that I use and how to go about doing it. Also getting volume. I am a volume girl. I love it. My grandmother has the Hun hair, so I grew up doing all styles with volume and a little bit of oomph at the root. So that is one thing to always consider when doing this style, because we all want what we don't have, right? So starting off, obviously, I like doing it obviously on dry hair. Don't do it on wet hair, even if it's a little wet. Go in and dry it. It takes 2 seconds. When I washed my hair last night, towel dried it, I put a little bit of the Aveda Texture Tonic on my hair. That way, when I woke up this morning, knowing kind of the look I was going for, I was going to have a little bit of that grit to my hair that does hold the curl. If you guys have straight hair and you don't have any volume to it, this will give it enough of that texture when you go in and curl it to where it looks like it was effortless and you knocked it out of the park. So with that being said, I'm going to go in and spray it a little bit. You can put it on dry hair, but I'm just going to spray just a little bit on there. A little bit does go a long way. Don't spray like a ton when doing this at first. You can always spray a little bit more after. My theory on curling is divide and conquer. A lot of my clients that have sat in my chair, they'll see me section out one side and section out the other. When you're at home, no one has time for that. Honestly, I know nobody does. So divide and conquer. That way, you're not just pulling random hair and you have to constantly check and make sure that you have enough. If you section it out, I know it seems like, okay, section by section by section, it goes a lot faster. Even if you're taking bigger chunks and bigger sections, it does go a lot faster. And then you're not walking around with like one long straight strand going down your back. So I'm today going to be using a 1-inch. This is Ion's curling iron. I love it. It does last forever. It is a spring, but it does last, and I can get different kind of curls out of it, and I'll show you. So I'm going to take a bigger chunk, lightly drag it down. So what I'm doing is almost heating that area where I'm not necessarily curling. Always make sure that you're using a focal point. I always use this as a focal point, and I'll show you why. So we're going to put it down a little bit, keeping our eye on this. Just turn it one full rotation. Let it heat, allowing some of the hair to go down. Slide it down, doesn't matter how much, just slide it down a little bit, and you're grabbing more hair and turning it one full rotation again. Then you're going to bring it down again, one full rotation. Now you can either leave a little bit of the ends out. I'm going to go down a little bit farther before leaving the ends out. Now it has sprung up a little bit. Before I let it cool down too much, I do tend to drag it out a little bit. That way it has a little bit more of a looser look. But you see now how the curl goes from top to bottom and not just at the bottom. That's a common mistake a lot of people have, which is why they like the ones. Not that I'm opposed to it, but that's when you end up burning yourself because you realize you were curling your hair the wrong way before. Now, for the second curl, I always go the opposite way. I always alternate front to back. It gives it more of that authentic curl look, And what happens is when the curls start to loosen, they don't loosen up on each other. A lot of girls, they all curl this way and then they all curl that way, and it all ends up being two big curls. And it looks beautiful, but it's not what we're going for. We're going for the beachy look, which is more that lived in textured look. And to be honest with you, even when I curl my hair not for the beachy look, I don't do it all the same way. I alternate back and forth. So again, let that be your focal point this time because the prong is going to be away from us. So we're going to slide it down again. One full rotation. Giving it a little bit of slack. One full rotation. And with this, you don't have to grab the same amount of hair each time. Sometimes I grab a little more, sometimes I grab a little less, but that way it gives it, again, more of that natural look. See how both the curls are never gonna like mold into each other, ever, because there's no way. They're facing two opposite directions. So that's how you're gonna keep your curl a lot longer, and they're not gonna all mesh into each other. And as the curls settle down, even start to loosen up. I know a lot of people, they don't hold a curl, so I go in like a little tighter with their curl. But even when it does start to loosen up, it's not gonna be all one curl, which is great. So again, I'm just pulling it out a little bit. This one's gonna go forward. You can just keep alternating. It doesn't all have to be the same way. You might overthink it. I know a lot of people do. Did I go forward? Did I go back? It doesn't matter what way you go. Just make sure somewhere in there you're grabbing hair and you're curling it a different way than you did before. You can do two back, one forward, one back, two forward. It doesn't matter. Just as long as your front pieces are always away from your face. And I will show you how to go about that when I get up to that part. So here's our first view of the back, and I can just go in with my fingers and lightly loosen that. And I'll go in and brush it afterwards. But I'm gonna curl the rest of the hair, and then when I get to the sides, I will get back to you guys, okay? So you can see I left out some of the sides so I could show you guys. So you can take a bigger chunk. Always, 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 I always indicate from ear to hairline, always away from the face. Now with that being said, I'm going to show you up towards the top. It's not always the case, but definitely more times than not, your first two pieces are going to be away from your face. So again, I'm just leaving a little bit of the ends out, pulling it down. A lot of times you'll see me like with my finger kind of go down and kind of guide it a little bit. But I'm also pulling it down, creating just a little bit of tension and bringing it down a little bit. Because what happens is as the curl starts to cool down is when it kind of locks into what it's going to be. So when I pull it down a little bit, it does loosen it just enough. Again, we're just going to do it away from the face, leaving a little bit out, pulling it down. Alright, so because I've gotten at least halfway, what I'm going to do is go in and brush it out. Do not be afraid to brush those curls. Look how much fuller it looks and how much softer it looks. You don't want to look like you're going to prom. I know it's dance season right now in Maryland, but guess what? We don't want to look like we're going. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. So you want to have a little bit more volume in your style. Obviously I had to help with some texture spray, but this is from brushing it out. Don't just let them cool down and settle down on themselves. Brush it out. We're using a smaller curling iron. You can afford to brush it out slightly. So I always end off with, let me do a little bit more, with a mohawk section on the top. Just because I'm going to curl it slightly different, not horribly different, but I do have extensions and my hair is crazy layered. So for me, I get a lot more height on the top, so that's why I section it out a certain way. And for my extensions, I'm actually a extension specialist. I'm our lead extension specialist at the salon. So I've been doing it for 11 years now, and I actually am teaching my first class today. I always do one-on-one, but today's my first class. So I'm super excited, but that's what I have. Their beaded technique. That's what I specialize in. So up here, we're gonna go a little bit closer because this is where we want the volume to really start to kick in. I know we're still going for that beachy pulled out look, but who doesn't like a little bit of volume? And again, because we're going up closer to the root and we're evenly distributing the heat from, for the most part, root to end, that's where you get your volume. All right, so I did my first two away from the face, my one right behind it. It almost looks like I'm facing down a little bit, but it's gonna go forward in its direction. Look at that. You just take your hands and brush it out. Even with your hands combing it out, you'll still have that really defined curl pattern. It might be pulled out, but nothing beats a good vent brush to the curl. Up here, I tend to brush out a little bit more because I definitely don't want more curl up on the top than I do the bottom. I'm just basically going still for a curl pattern, but I really want the volume because I am only 5 foot. So if I get a little bit more height, I'm okay with that. One of the most common questions that are asked is, how hot do I put my iron? And to that, don't go too high, especially you're not trying to straighten it out. You're going for a beachier kind of look. Right now mine is at 350. I don't go any higher than that, and even that's a stretch for me. But I needed it to heat up fast for the video, so don't go too hot. And you know if it's not curling, you know what I mean? Like, please only use a heat dial one. If it's on and off, just chuck it. I hate to throw good stuff away, but if it doesn't have a heat regulator, it's not good. It might have a dial on the side, it might be a digital one like this one, but if you can smell your hair burning, more than likely, it's not good. Alright, so you can see in the back, let me get this one spot, and see how small that is? It doesn't matter to me how big or how small the pieces are that I'm grabbing, because personally I feel like it looks more authentic when they're not all the same size. So I'll show you the back. See how these curls just kind of lightly go? Now granted, I have a ton of hair and it's long, but it gives it more of that beachier kind of style. Alright, so now we're going to work on the top. Every time I do the top, I work and slice out the mohawk. I like using gator clip just because I need to hold a lot of hair, but it's easy to go in section too. So we're just going to brush up. The easiest way is just to take your finger, just take a chunk out of there, and we're going to go, at least in this crown area, we are going to go in the same direction, which would be back, and pulling it out a lot more. You almost want to pull it out right when it comes out. Now for those of you who do have one length or longer layers, you can still do the same thing. But for me, having my medium to shorter length layers, I do want more of a pulled out effect while still keeping volume up top. So I pull it out just a little bit more. But you're keeping a lot of the curling closer to the root area. That way we can keep that volume going. And you can see in the back, it all just starts to blend in. But look at the volume that I'm getting from this. All right, so I'm gonna do one more chunk coming back. This one I'm just gonna take the whole thing, just go up, just kind of fan it out with my fingers. Some of the curls you can see go back, some go forward. This is gonna give it that textured look up top without us trying too hard. What's left is a pretty decent size, not horribly, it's at least half of what we were working with before. So I'm gonna go in where my part is. And this one, I'm definitely gonna pull down more. I'm not gonna do as much of a curl here, but I need some kind of curl pattern. I'm gonna take another, not horribly big. And that one, I'm just gonna do a little slower for you guys. Pull it out a little bit closer to the ends and just kind of really keep constant motion on that one. Same for this side, we just have a little bit left to curl. Now, just brush it all out. I always brush before I spray. That way it doesn't have that strong hold yet. All right, I'm gonna do a little bit of the texture spray. Give it that grit. Finishing off with a little bit of hairspray. I'm choosing not to do a little bit of hairspray today just because my hair does hold really well, but you can finish off with a hairspray, and that way you have a little bit more hold for those of you who can't keep a curl too much. What I'm going to do just a little bit and through here just because I want a little bit more oomph. Let's go in and lightly tease. And a lot of people do have a problem with teasing, not in the respect that they're against it, they just don't know how to do it. So, I'll show you. Always do your mohawk section, come down a little bit farther, depending on your hair length. Don't just do your crown area because then it looks like just you had to bump it in, if you guys remember them. So I always do a little bit on the sides as well. So what you're gonna do, this isn't my favorite brush, but my husband took my other one, so this is what I have. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take, I always work my way over, but I'm gonna take a pretty decent sized section today and push it down, release. Push it down, release. If you go like this, it's where it creates, not knotting, because that's what you're trying to create, but the hair breaks a little bit more. So because I have a pretty decent sized chunk, it gives me a little bit more of a cushion to work off of. So I'm going to do the same on this side. And there, my friends, is your Volume Beachy Wave. If you have any questions, I can put what I used on my hair below, but the volumizing tonic, or not, I'm sorry, the texture tonic from Aveda is the product that I used, and I hope you guys enjoyed my first YouTube tutorial on how to get your hair a beachy volume wave. Have a good day, guys.